Okay, this game is Kasparov versus Shirov in the Credit Suisse Masters 1994. Kasparov, playing white, played e4. Shirov played the Sicilian defence. Now we have some standard moves which lead to the Sveshnikov variation of the Sicilian defence, which is a very sharp, dynamic variation where black often is accepting structural weaknesses. Here you can see black has a backward d6 pawn, and there are two main ways of white playing from this position. First is knight d5, and the other way is an immediate bishop f6. Kasparov in this game chooses the more positional knight d5. So after bishop e7, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, we see that there's a nice knight on d5, and often the strategy for both sides revolves around the d5 square. White now played c3, and Shirov played bishop b7. So now we see Kasparov playing knight c2. So this is a classical rerouting of the knight from the edge of the board to go back towards the centre to protect the d5 knight, to reinforce that. Now here, Shirov played what was a trendy move at the time, knight b8. The idea of this retreat is to reroute the knight to d7 to c5, where it could exert an influence on e4 and generally be annoying on c5. Kasparov was very quick now to play a4. He didn't do a stereotypical move here like bishop e2. He had a specific idea in mind. After a4, b takes, rook takes, knight d7, Kasparov played rook b4. Now Shirov may have been a bit surprised already by this move, because he wanted to play knight c5 anyway, and it would be protecting the b7 bishop, and then later the rook would be a target. Surely it would be a target anyway if black played a5. So here perhaps, Shirov didn't really know what was going on. What did Kasparov have in mind? Can you guess in the position here what Kasparov played next? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kasparov played an astounding exchange sacrifice. He played rook takes b7. So he's literally undermining the underminer of d5. That bishop could have captured on d5. And after knight takes b7, he now plays b4. So not only is there this great knight, he's making sure that this knight cannot go to that c5 square. So, Shirov is now the exchange up, but it's very difficult to play, especially in over-the-board chess. If this knight is just so dominant, attacking all these squares, so Shirov will always have to look out for it, and its supporting tactics later on. He played bishop g5, and Kasparov now started to get his other knight more active now on light squares by playing knight a3. And after castles, knight c4. So all of these moves without moving this bishop. This is just typical of the way Kasparov, he plays to the position and avoids stereotypical moves. Shirov now played a5, and now Kasparov finally moves this bishop on f1 to d3. He doesn't mind black peeling open the a file, because that file is only going to be as good as what the rook can do after it. Queen b8 now. Now h4, again a non-stereotypical move. Instead of just castling, Kasparov gains a bit of space and again makes things more uncomfortable for Shirov. Now knight cb6, encouraging, literally inviting this rook to come to the 7th rank and even threaten rook d2. Kasparov though has seen that he will have an escape square on f3 when this happens. So after rook d2 he plays queen f3, and you can see there's a lot of pressure on the black position here. Well, first of all, f7 is pressurised. There are latent threats of knight e7, and also there's now a threat of winning the exchange back with knight d7. So against knight d7, Shirov decided to move his queen, and Kasparov now played knight d7. And now here, a very interesting decision was made. Shirov had had enough of being tortured positionally, and wanted to give back material, he played knight d8 here. Perhaps rook a8 was playable, but there's a very fine, tightrope he would have had to follow up in that continuation. We could have a quick look at it. Rook a8 as a new variation. Now say knight e7 check, king h8, queen takes f7, so this is all very sharp. White's threatening now things like knight f8 with the idea of queen g8, so it's quite dangerous for this back row. But after rook takes d3, knight f8, black would have had queen a2. I'm not sure if Shirov would have seen this very, very sharp variation. But here now, after knight e6, hg, knight takes g6, king h7, knight f8 check. Remember, the rook can't take because the queen would be in pre. King h8, this would be a perpetual at least for Kasparov. But also, maybe, Shirov was worried about something else, not just this perpetual check idea. But perhaps the idea of queen f5 here. If queen f5, g6, and this is also quite dangerous for black. Maybe queen f6, bishop g7, hg, knight g6, king h7, or if king g8, knight e7 check, king h8. And now here, maybe this is a position which terrified Shirov in analysis, because queen f5 is now threatening queen h5 mating. But there's only one defence, queen d2, and I think black can hold on here, according to my analytical assistant. But you can see this is the kind of thing which may have frightened Shirov to give back the exchange. So anyway, after the exchange, Kasparov is definitely better now. He plays b5, so this pawn is also very dangerous, potentially supported by this great knight on d5. Queen a3, and now another brilliant move. This bishop was totally left in pre. Kasparov just played now queen f5, with the idea of hitting h7, and also this menacing threat of queen d7. So Shirov replied to that. He couldn't take on d3 because of queen d7 with advantage. And now bishop c4, rook c2, and Kasparov now played another brilliant move. He played queen takes h7, leaving the bishop here in pre. Because after rook takes c4, he won the exchange with queen g4 check and this knight fork. So it's all technique now, Kasparov. Queen c5. Now rook a1, so this queen can't leave the protection of a7, and it's a lost position now, I believe. After queen d4, Kasparov continued with a very elegant attacking move here. Rook a8 would probably have given advantage as well, but he played rook a3, which has ideas potentially of rook f3. But also, this knight is immune because of queen a7 check, and this knight dropping off. So after bishop c1, Kasparov now simply played yet another great move. He played knight e3, and it threatens knight f5 check, as well as stopping queen d1. And here, Shirov resigned. Let's see just quickly, if queen takes e4, then rook a7 check, and that's crushing. So this final rerouting of the knight is decisive. So it's a wonderful exchange sacrifice idea if we go back, which wasn't seen before in this variation, and cast doubt on the viability of this knight retreat, in fact. This amazing positional exchange sacrifice. It's quite a dramatic illustration of the power of a secure knight on d5. So there was just one opportunity where maybe rook a8 would have let Shirov hold on. So after having a disadvantage here, Kasparov was utterly ruthless, continuing the attack. So knight e3 was the final move. Fantastic game by Kasparov, a fantastic exchange sacrifice.